there's a third of the country watching the Super Bowl at any given time. And you're trying to talk to a segment inside of this broad populace that's a microcosm for the country writ large. So by its very nature, not everybody's going to like it. You can't target everyone, so you're not going to get everybody. You got to say to yourself, I'm cool with that. The challenge is when you go, well, we don't want to offend anyone. We don't want to turn anybody off. So you go to the lowest common denominator and you get a spot. It's like, dude, this was for no one. So you take the delay spot, which I thought was like really well done. It was beautiful. And just considering the cultural backdrop that we're in, because everything is culturally moderated. When he gifted the farm to his daughter, all I kept thinking was like, man, he gave her all that debt. Because like, dang, man, you messed up her whole life, B. That's all.
And a bunch of work too. Like,
seriously.
This is a celebration. This is probably one of the best shows of my entire life.
This is going to celebrate the win, and I think rightfully so. Brian's going to, I think, take the victory lap today as we cover a little bit of the Super Bowl.
I got my gear on. We are in celebration mode. And not only that, but we have one of the people I've been looking forward to talking to the most in the world on the show today with us. Welcome, Dr. Marcus Collins.
I mean, I feel left out that I don't have a stogie too, but I'm glad to be here. I feel celebratory. I'm able to I'm gleaning your zeal here, Brian. I'm benefiting.
The mirth is high. Lots of joy abounds here on this show.
I love it.
It's a little early for the champagne this morning, but otherwise I would have a glass of champagne.
I guess we're obligated now to put the video portion of this up, but we are going to talk. We're going to talk Super Bowl. We're going to talk a little bit about the ads and I think the cultural affair that it is. But for those who are not familiar, Dr. Marcus Collins, he is an award-winning marketer. He's a cultural translator. We've worked together on at least one video, which is forthcoming on Future Commerce, the channel over on YouTube, and he is the best-selling author of For the Culture, a book that you should all pick up if you haven't already. Go get it right now. Pause this feed, go pick it up wherever books are sold. And he's the co-host of the From the Culture podcast. And I don't know what's taken this long for us to collaborate on this show. But Marcus, give us a little bit of your, the update of what you've been working on, what you're up to these days.
Sure. First of all, I'm so excited to be here. So thank you so much for having me. I study culture and its influence and impact on human behavior. Historically, I've studied culture through a consumption lens, why we buy, what we buy, how we negotiate and construct meaning around brands and organizations. But as of late, I've sort of widened the aperture to think about culture through the lens of work, particularly organizational culture. What are the inner workings of the groups of people who come together to engage in the collective production of work. And what I realized when it comes to organizations, that our ability to do marketing well, that is the consumer culture engagement side, is only as good as our ability to optimize the organizational culture side, right? The front stage is only as good as the backstage. So studying both of those, widening the aperture to think about both of those remits, I think have really strengthened and sharpened my consumption culture studies, while making me far more curious about the organizational side.
I'm always fascinated by your perspective. I have my takes. People can get any dose of me whenever they want. I'd love to hear your take on how you felt this Super Bowl, maybe compared to others, or what your big overarching takes were.
Well, we could start with the ads and then get into the broader programming. Mm-hmm. For the first time, and I know this is like Cry Me a River, for the first time, I really felt for marketers this year around. Because I feel like, I'm looking at the discourse happening on social networking platforms and even the rooms that we're in. They were like, oh man, the advertising's so mid this year. It's not so great. And I go, yo, do you know how hard it is to make a Super Bowl ad? And quite literally, the expectations are through the roof. It's a really tough thing. I mean, in any given year, it's hard to make a Super Bowl ad. But to meet the expectations of the public is a challenge because marketers are doing their best tricks
Mhm.
during the 364 days that is not the Super Bowl to get people's attention, to break through. Like, it's a really hard thing to do. And I felt like the public this year were like, eh. But ultimately, I felt bad for advertisers, for our colleagues out there who are
Sure.
making Super Bowl ads. I felt for them.
Do you think some of the lack of enthusiasm actually has to do with the what's being sold right now? Because okay, hear me out. Like right now, people are not necessarily that excited about AI. There were a lot of AIs.
Oh, you're
People are
not
not
excited
necessarily
about AI, Brian?
like. In fact, you could argue the Coinbase ad was perfectly executed, but every single person in the room that I was with groaned the moment the logo was flipped onto the. They're like, oh, this is a fun idea, karaoke commercial like Backstreet Boys. You could argue it was actually perfectly executed. It's just people are over it. They're over Coinbase.
I mean, you're not far off because I would say the thing that got me most excited this year, beyond a handful of ads, I thought the movie trailers were amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, "Yo, Scream 7, count me in, count me in." Like, I thought like the movie spots really got my attention
Mm.
because they felt novel.
So that kind of leads me to our take. And, if you want to run through, some ads beat by beat, I have my choice for who actually won the Super Bowl from the ad perspective. But we wrote a piece over on Future Commerce Insiders, Marcus, where we sort of contrasted a bunch of ads and like their messaging. You brought up a couple here where you have Amazon talking about all the ways AI may kill you versus Google Gemini talking about all the ways that AI might be helping you form these core memories as in your childhood, in your new moving out of your childhood home and into your your new home. And I think that that's like an extraordinary contrast. Meanwhile, Lay's has a Americana. You've got a farmer passing on this legacy to his ostensibly like his daughter in his retirement party, and you've got Pringles, celebrating like I build the perfect man and then consume him. The sexuality, right? So you've got this like extraordinary duality that's playing out, beat for beat. Yeah, I really think that there's kind of two Americas that are watching the Super Bowl, and they are examining it through their own lens of their own experience. And these brands at different echelons, in different strata of society are speaking encoded language to them and saying, we know who our customer is. And I think that depending on who you are, if you're cynical, you could probably look at it and say, wow, there's, that certainly is not for me. And also I'm kind of afraid or concerned about where we're heading.
I mean, that's always happening. Whenever
Yeah.
we're communicating on behalf of the brand, we are signaling a desired meaning in hopes that we find congruence. That someone goes, "Yeah, I see it that way too,"
Mm.
which makes Super Bowl even more challenging because the population is so heterogeneous. There's a third of the country watching the Super Bowl at any given time, and you're trying to talk to a segment inside of this broad populace that's a microcosm for the country writ large. So by its very nature, not everybody's going to like it. You can't target everyone, so you're not going to get everybody. You got to say to yourself, "I'm cool with that." The challenge is when you go, "Well, we don't want to offend anyone. We don't want to turn anybody off." So you go to the lowest common denominator and you get a spot. It's like, dude, this was for no one. So you take the delay spot, which I thought was like really well done. It was beautiful. And just considering the cultural backdrop that we're in, because everything is culturally moderated, when he gifted the farm to his daughter, all I kept thinking was like, man, he gave her all that debt. It was like, dang, man, you messed up her whole life, B. That's all I'm thinking.
And a bunch of work too. Like
Seriously. Like, just considering, I mean, like, farmers are getting choked out right now.
Oh man.
So that's all I thought about, because, and that's the thing about marketing that's so awesome and so challenging, that like, people are coming to your brand, they're coming to your communication with all of this extra baggage, or rather this extra meaning. And when they're looking at your thing, it's passing through this meaning making system by which they are saying, okay, interpret what I see. And based on them, they see the world accordingly. Now, Brian, you mentioned Coinbase. Now, here's the thing. I thought the Coinbase spot was quite brilliant.
It
And if
was.
nothing else, it signaled, it was really like a flare to the entire marketing community that we have to break the brief. The
Totally.
brief by which we have normally gone about making Super Bowl ads, we have to end it because we're at an arms race of incrementality. The expectations are so high and our ability to exceed them is so low because there is not that much more headroom approaching Super Bowl ads that we normally have. Let's make it funny. Let's have a celebrity. Let's do a thing. That's not going to work anymore. You have to break the thing. So Coinbase, though the execution could be questionable, to your point, when you saw Coinbase, you were like, oh man, the
The
collective
execution was
growth.
amazing. No, I
It's so
think
great.
that people are just tired of Coinbase. There's no bearing on the quality of I thought it was a great spot. Totally.
So at the very least, we got to break the brief. We have to break the brief. The closest to that, in my opinion, was Levi's. Levi
Yeah.
really subverted it. Like we got all these celebrities, but you're gonna see nobody's face.
Yeah.
Just their butts. And to me, that spot, it felt very much like Apple silhouettes, their iPod plus iTunes ads from back
Yes.
in the day. It felt like a silhouette. In this case, the silhouette is the derriere, which is perfectly casted in a pair of Levi's jeans. And of course, just like they were holding the iPod in those Apple ads, there's the Levi's red tab there. So you know who these silhouettes are in context with or who they're in partner with. I thought it was just really, really well done.
Agree.
I
Actually, it
love
felt
that.
like a classic commercial to me.
This is my take. Levi's, in my opinion, won the Super Bowl. They sort of had a 1-2-3 punch that I feel like landed in such a hard way. We're behind you sort of ad. It plays in such a way where you get the brand, they catch your attention with the ad, and then they cut to the greatest shot ever is when they're coming back from commercial and they've got a wide shot of the stadium saying it's Levi's Stadium. And that integration is an incredible execution with NBC Universal. You can't pull that off without the partnership. Dollar for dollar, your ad dollar and your naming rights dollars have to go hand in hand so that those two things make sense. But the third punch comes when Bad Bunny finishes and you have the only thing that is stronger than hate is love. And that's the image that goes viral at the end. And what's above it? Levi's. That's to me, there's no greater execution. Like it's all three, and in all three makes it like gives me chills, honestly. It's like,
well, and
right.
butts were featured heavily in the halftime show. So it was like a quadruple punch.
I mean, I think you're dead on. And to continue to add on the layers, the Super Bowl was in San Francisco, which is Levi's home turf. And all of it ties very closely to what Levi's as a brand stands for. They are all about progress. Levi's is in the business of outfitting the originals who make progress every day. I mean, like from the Bad Bunny integration, that's progress, especially from where we are today. Right.
Sure.
I thought, just to your point, they realized this is not a 30-second ad. This is a constellation of nodes that together tell the story of Levi's in a way only Levi's could, which I thought was really powerful.
Wow.
Butts are progress.
Well said. Are there any final lessons learned? Maybe something that can tie back to your book?
I mean, at the end of the day, the Super Bowl is a cultural ritual. It's not just a sporting game. This is a place where people come together and engage in ceremony. And since it is culturally mediated, culture will weave in and out of every aspect of the game and all the spectacle that we call the game, from the Super Bowl halftime show to the ads that exist as well. Which means then the winners of the Super Bowl, whether it's on the field, in the 30-second spots, or on the stage for the 14 whatever minutes that are being performed, the ones that are closest to culture, that understands the cultural conventions of the zeitgeist, those are the ones that will win. And that requires fortifying an organizational culture that has an ear towards the reality that is the zeitgeist, and the wherewithal and the ability to respond to it accordingly. And I think the NFL has proven to us that they can do that quite well.
Wow. All right. Well, Dr. Marcus Collins, thank you for joining us. You can get his book. It's called For the Culture, and subscribe to the podcast From the Culture.
Great.
Let's do
This
it.
is a good time, guys. We can
Please join us again, and let's not, I think we've been 10 years on the air here. Let's not wait another 10 years to have you back. If you want to find more future commerce in your world, you can bring it into your real world. We've got our new book out. It's called Lore, and you can find more print just like this at our shop. Go ahead and hit futurecommerce.com to get all of this and more, and us in your inbox a few times a week. Remember, commerce shapes the future because commerce is culture.
See
We'll see you next
Hawks.
time.